What is beauty? Is it in the eye of the beholder, or is there something more universal that transcends personal taste? In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of philosophy to explore how different thinkers across history have tried to answer one of humanity's oldest questions: what makes something beautiful? Plato viewed beauty as an objective reality that exists beyond the physical world. In his theory of forms, he posited that everything in the material world is a mere shadow of its perfect form, an ideal version that exists in a higher, non-physical realm. The form of beauty for Plato is the most sublime and pure, transcending physical appearance, and capturing the essence of what is truly beautiful. When we find something beautiful in the physical world, we are recognizing its participation in the form of beauty. Plato believed that appreciating beauty can lead the soul towards truth and wisdom, as it inspires a desire to transcend the physical and connect with the eternal. The concept of classical beauty in ancient Greek sculpture. Statues like the Venus de Milo represent an idealized human form that is not based on any real person, but rather on the ideal proportions and features derived from Plato's concept of the form of beauty. These sculptures attempt to capture the perfect, eternal beauty that Plato believed existed in the realm of forms. Kant's view on beauty is central to his broader philosophy of aesthetics. He argued that when we judge something as beautiful, we do so without any interest in its practical use. Our appreciation is purely for the object itself. This disinterested pleasure is what makes aesthetic judgments unique. Kant also introduced the idea of the universal communicability of beauty, meaning that while beauty is subjective, we expect others to agree with our judgments. For Kant, beauty is a matter of harmonious interaction between our cognitive faculties, imagination and understanding, creating a sense of order and purpose in what we perceive, even if that purpose is not inherent in the object itself. According to Kant, when you find a sunset beautiful, you do so without any practical interest. You're not thinking about the time of day or the weather, but simply appreciating the harmonious colors and composition. This disinterested pleasure is what makes the sunset an aesthetic experience. Although personal, your judgment of its beauty carries an expectation that others might also find it beautiful. Nietzsche challenged the idea of beauty as something fixed or universal, instead seeing it as a construct that serves human needs and desires. For Nietzsche, beauty is linked to the expression of life's vitality and creative power, rather than adherence to any abstract ideal. He critiqued the classical notion of beauty as a tool of the weak to impose order and control over the chaotic, powerful forces of life. Instead, Nietzsche celebrated the dynamic and the sublime, the aspects of beauty that are fierce, unpredictable, and tied to the will to power. This view contrasts with more passive or idealized notions of beauty, emphasizing instead beauty's role in the affirmation of life and strength. The beauty found in a wild, stormy seascape. Nietzsche would see the beauty in the powerful, chaotic forces of nature, which reflect life's vitality and struggle. Rather than the calm, orderly beauty of a serene landscape, Nietzsche celebrates the sublime, the raw, untamed energy that inspires awe and reflects the dynamic, creative forces of existence. John Dewey rejected the idea that beauty exists in a realm separate from everyday life. He argued that beauty is found in the quality of experiences, whether they are mundane or artistic. For Dewey, the aesthetic experience is integral to all forms of life and creativity, making it accessible and democratic. This perspective challenges the traditional separation of high art from low art or everyday life, suggesting that beauty is present in the ordinary, and that our engagement with the world can be a source of aesthetic pleasure. Dewey's view encourages a broader appreciation of beauty that includes the functional, the useful, and the communal, rather than just the rarefied or the elite. A beautifully designed tool, like a well-crafted wooden chair. For Dewey, the beauty of the chair lies not just in its appearance, but in its functionality and the experience of using it. The aesthetic quality is found in the seamless integration of form and function, where the practical use of the chair enhances its beauty, making it an object of appreciation in everyday life. Feminist critiques of beauty often focus on how societal standards are used to control and oppress women. Naomi Wolf argues that as women have gained more power in other areas, the societal pressure to conform to rigid beauty standards has intensified as a way to undermine their progress. These standards are not just about aesthetics, they are deeply tied to gender roles, economic power, and social control. Feminists critique how beauty ideals reinforce narrow, often unattainable images of femininity, which can lead to issues like body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and the commodification of women's bodies. Feminist perspectives advocate for a redefinition of beauty that is inclusive, diverse, and liberating rather than oppressive. The cultural critique found in modern body positivity movements. These movements challenge narrow beauty standards imposed by media and fashion industries, advocating for diverse representations of beauty that include different body types, skin colors, and ages. The aim is to deconstruct traditional norms that have been used to marginalize certain groups and to promote a broader, more inclusive definition of beauty. Postmodernism challenges the idea of any single overarching standard of beauty. Instead, it embraces pluralism, fragmentation, and the multiplicity of interpretations. In a postmodern view, beauty is not about finding a universal truth or ideal, but about recognizing that different cultures, groups, and individuals have their own valid perspectives on what is beautiful. This approach often involves deconstructing traditional notions of beauty to reveal how they are constructed and maintained by power structures. Postmodern art and aesthetics often play with conventions, subverting expectations and celebrating ambiguity, irony, and the blending of high and low culture. The work of artist Andy Warhol, particularly his series. Warhol's art challenges traditional notions of beauty by elevating everyday consumer products to the level of fine art. By doing so, he blurs the lines between high and low culture, questioning the very definition of what can be considered beautiful. This exemplifies the postmodern idea that beauty is subjective and constructed through various cultural lenses. From an evolutionary standpoint, beauty is often interpreted as a signal of health, fertility, or genetic fitness. Traits like facial symmetry, clear skin, or a particular body shape might be seen as beautiful because they indicate reproductive potential or good health. This perspective is grounded in the idea that human preferences for certain traits have evolved because they offer some advantage in terms of survival or reproduction. However, this view has been critiqued for reducing beauty to biological determinism and ignoring the cultural, historical, and individual factors that also shape our perceptions of beauty. Additionally, it tends to reinforce narrow standards of beauty that do not account for diversity and cultural differences. The universal preference for facial symmetry and attractiveness studies. Research shows that people across different cultures tend to find symmetrical faces more attractive, which biologists argue is because symmetry is an indicator of genetic health. This preference is seen as an evolved trait where beauty signals reproductive fitness, although it doesn't account for cultural variations and personal preferences. Eight, Eastern philosophical views. In many Eastern traditions, beauty is often associated with concepts like harmony, balance, and simplicity. For instance, Japanese aesthetics embraces the concept of, which finds beauty in imperfection, transience, and the natural world. This contrasts with Western ideals that often emphasize permanence and symmetry. In Indian philosophy, beauty is connected to the triad of truth, goodness, beauty, reflecting an integrated approach where beauty is not just about appearance, but is also a moral and spiritual quality. These views emphasize a holistic understanding of beauty, where aesthetics are closely tied to ethical and spiritual dimensions of life. The Japanese tea ceremony, which embodies the concept of this aesthetic, appreciates the beauty of imperfection, simplicity, and the natural aging process. A rustic handcrafted tea bowl with irregularities is valued not despite its flaws, but because of them, reflecting a beauty that is transient and incomplete, yet deeply connected to nature and spirituality. 9. The Marxist view. Marxist aesthetics examines how beauty and art are influenced by economic and social conditions. From a Marxist perspective, what is considered beautiful is often determined by the ruling class, serving to reinforce their ideology and maintain their power. Art and beauty become commodities in a capitalist society, where their value is determined by market forces rather than intrinsic worth. Marxist critiques often focus on the ways in which beauty standards are used to manipulate and distract people from the realities of economic exploitation and social inequality. By commodifying beauty, capitalism perpetuates a system where value is tied to appearance, status, and consumption, rather than to human creativity or well-being. The opulence of high fashion is seen during events like the Met Gala. From a Marxist perspective, the elaborate and expensive clothing displayed at such events reinforces the power and status of the elite. The beauty of these garments is not just in their design but in their exclusivity, which reflects and perpetuates class distinctions. The event showcases how beauty is commodified and used to maintain social hierarchies. The existentialist perspective. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre argue that beauty is not an inherent property of objects, but something that emerges from human experience and choice. In existentialism, the emphasis is on individual freedom and the creation of meaning in a world that has no intrinsic meaning. Beauty, then, is something that individuals project onto the world as they navigate their own existence. This perspective highlights the subjective nature of beauty, which is tied to personal experiences, emotions, and existential choices. It also suggests that beauty is not fixed, but can change as individuals redefine their values and understandings of the world. The beauty found in a personal, meaningful place, like a small secluded park where someone has had profound experiences. For an existentialist, the beauty of this park is not inherent, but is created by the individual's memories, emotions, and choices associated with it. The park becomes beautiful because of the personal meaning projected onto it, emphasizing the subjective nature of beauty and its dependence on human experience. These different perspectives provide a rich tapestry of interpretations on the nature of beauty, reflecting the complexity of the concept and its deep connection to culture, society, and human experience.